Hey guys, Connor Richards of PokerNews here at the 2024 WSOP in Las Vegas, and this is Life Outside Poker. My guest for this episode is Romulo Dorea, who's become one of the biggest poker vloggers in Brazil by putting out content in both Portuguese and English. We talked about first coming to the US on a soccer scholarship before getting more into poker, eventually becoming a poker vlogger, and teaming up with WPT Global. Let's get into it. All right, Rome, I'm super excited to talk to you because this is an interview that we've been trying to get done for a while. We first met on the WPT Voyage and didn't get a chance to do it then. Now we're here at the World Series of Poker. And you were telling me you have just such a cool story of coming to the US to play soccer in college. You got into poker vlogging and now have grown to be one of the biggest vloggers in Brazil. But let's start back off in Brazil. What was it like growing up in the town? I don't want to mispronounce this, so go ahead and say the town that you grew up in.
Belém, the name of the town.
Yeah.
It was nice. Like Belém is not a small town. Like it has like 2 million people. Brazil is there's a lot of people in Brazil.
Yeah.
But Belém is a little far away. If I had to make an analogy, maybe it's like I'm from US, but I live in Iowa, for example. The big centers for poker is Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Miami, Texas, Dallas, whatever. Belém is like a faraway city that most people from Brazil, they live in São Paulo or Rio, that you guys know, or more developed cities. But it was nice. I had, my childhood was a lot about soccer, just like 90% of men in Brazil, they play a lot of soccer. And yeah, now I'm here, and people in Belém actually, what is happening in Belém is because as it's such a faraway city, they are seeing our growth, and they are actually getting, like, how can I say, influenced by it, and they are starting to want to go to big cities like Los Angeles, like Vegas, that we're here now. And I'm glad to be able to influence them to not limit themselves and to actually try to grow and conquer the world, if I can say that.
And you mentioned that like 90% of people there play soccer. It's a big deal. It's not really like that in the US. The US seems to be the country that, you know, isn't as big into soccer, but just talk about how big is soccer in Brazil?
In terms of sports, for men, is like soccer, the rest.
Wow.
Really. And there's a lot of sports. We're good at jiu-jitsu, for example.
Yeah, okay.
We're okay at volley. We're good at other things, but it's like soccer and the rest, literally. That's why Brazil is not in such a good shape right now in this moment, but that's why we always have a lot of great talent, because Brazil is at 220 million people. Let's say 110 million people are men. I'm telling you, 90% play soccer, and 20 to 30% of those guys actually dream about becoming a soccer player. So it's a lot of people trying to be, and that's why we have so much good players, is because there's a lot of people trying to be good at the same sport. Similar to basketball here in the US.
Okay.
But US has more sports like basketball, baseball, some other ones that I don't want to make a mistake, but in Brazil is really focused in soccer, and that's why we have so many good players in Brazil.
And so you got caught up in that. You were a soccer player and you came to the US on a college scholarship. Did you want to be a professional soccer player? Was that the way you envisioned your life going?
When I was young, yes, but today I can see better. I played poker for 13 years as well. Like, I am 29. I play poker since I'm 17.
Oh, wow.
And like, to be honest, I believe I got good at soccer because of this culture in Brazil that everybody loves soccer and wants to play soccer. But I think my biggest talent is in poker, in terms of mathematics, in terms of dealing with people, in terms of self-control, in terms of dealing with your ego. I believe one of the biggest leaks I see from good players is actually having a big ego, or when they go through a hard spot in poker or in life, instead of dealing with more humility, try to be wise on what they will do, they go more to the side of being a little arrogant, maybe get a little overconfident. And poker, I'm sure that whoever plays poker faces hard situations. We have to deal with loss, and dealing with loss while you're confident in your game sometimes gets a little tricky, maybe, you know, because I believe that's actually why poker is so popular, is because even the worst player, there's going to be a day that he's going to win and he's going to fall in love with poker. And even the best player, there's going to be a day that he's going to lose and it's going to be a terrible day. So this duality makes it even the worst player to fall in love and to keep playing. And the good player, when he goes through a situation like that, he still has to deal with some frustration that poker puts him in. But if he's wise over the long term, this guy is going to make money. And the guy that is actually the recreation that is not so good, he's going to still have fun and he's going to lose money for the professionals that, let's say, 15% of people, 20% of people actually can be profitable over this game. And that's actually what I try to do in my content, like generate value to the guy who wants to improve. Because there's so many information into poker that most people don't know, that just if I say, oh, your chance of hitting a set in the flop is 12%. That's another information that you can put into your decision making when you're deciding between calling a 3-bet or not in position. How often will you hit your set and maybe extract a lot of money from your opponent, and etc.
So it does sound like you see kind of how you got so far into soccer really had a lot to be growing up in Brazil. If you're a male growing up in Brazil, you're probably going to be big into soccer, but poker is more, it seems to be kind of your true calling or your true passion.
Yes.
Would you say that's true?
Yeah.
When did you realize that? You said you started playing when you were 17. When did you start realizing, like, oh, there's another level of depth to this game. This is something that I could really pursue.
I always had a very realistic point with poker, and I knew that most people wouldn't be able to live from this game and make all your money and all your work life from this game. So even if in the beginning I started already winning because I was playing versus people that I was better, or actually they were worse than me, because when you start at poker, you're not so good. I started at poker already being profitable, and I fell in love with playing a game that I was making money. But at that time, I already could see that what I was making in poker was not enough yet. So I kept studying. I kept trying to. This scholarship I got here, I came to study economics. I learned English in that point. So it was really good for me. I was really realistic that there was like, I started wanting to live from poker when I got in the US and I saw how much I could make an hour, which I had 20 years old, 21. So I think it was 4 years that I kept playing poker, kept improving because I loved the game. So I was doing not only for the money, but because I was playing a game I love and I was also making money. But I only called myself a professional poker player maybe when I was 22. And I started making enough money to say, okay, now I'm making money enough that actually makes sense to say I focus in this game, you know? And happy enough, after I decided to do that, things started happening really fast. When I started vlogging, for example, I started in Portuguese and in English, and the one in English performed way better. So I said, okay, I'm going to do vlogging in English. And we grew fast, but there was a plateau that I reached at some point. And I always did my best in my content. I really try to generate the most value I can to the consumer. And I was thinking, why am I reaching this plateau? Why am I reaching this plateau? So I decided to make one video in Portuguese. And this video alone had more views than I ever had in English. So I said, wow, what am I doing here? You know, like, because nowadays I can see that maybe the reason why I reached the plateau with 17,000 subscribers on YouTube is because I'm not born in the US. So maybe there's some things that people identify themselves that they don't identify so much with me. My accent is clearly not from US and etc. While when I start making content in Portuguese, my leak in English was my biggest strength in Portuguese because I am from Brazil. I speak like them. I talk like them. I think in a cultural way like them. So that made maybe, I believe there's a lot of connection between me and the guy from Brazil that actually wants to live from poker, that actually wants to travel the world playing poker, actually wants to make content about poker or whatever. And now the reason why I'm focusing in Brazil is because things just happened way faster in Brazil, but I still love doing content in English. It's just a matter of priorities. What would you do if you make English content and you get 20,000 views and you make a Portuguese content and you literally get 1 million views, you know? It's 50 times difference. So it turns out that I believe it's just more worth it for me to focus in Portuguese. Actually, when WPT Global started sponsoring me, they wanted the Portuguese industry. So another reason for me to focus in my Portuguese content. But still, I'm here making content in English. And I believe the best thing I did in my life was not limiting myself. So I'm not saying at all I'm going to stop making content in English or I'm going to stop making content in Portuguese. I'm just going to do what I think is best for my life and for the life of my viewer, because the more value I bring to them, the more value I'll get in return. Like, it's literally like that. Whoever wants to make content, try to focus on your consumer and not on yourself. Many people, when they do content, they want to look good. They want to look like they are rich. They want to look like they. And it's not about you exactly. It's about them. It's about generating value to them as fast as possible, as entertaining as you can, so they keep watching you. They subscribe to you. They follow whatever you think they should follow. They actually are influenced by what you say. But there's another thing. You don't want to influence them for a bad thing as well. Many people do that, but over the long term, people will realize that and you will lose your influence. So I'm trying to do the best I can over, okay, keep growing, keep influencing, but I want to make them have a better life after having access to what I say, not the opposite.
Yeah, it's very apparent that you are focused on the viewer and on your audience and not as much on yourself. I want to bring up, there was a great article that WPT's Lance Bradley wrote about you. This was, I think, while you were on the voyage. So I just want to read a little excerpt and a quote from you. Lance wrote, "Make your way through some of his content and you might learn a little bit about him. But more importantly for poker fans, you see cash game action from poker hotspots in Las Vegas, Florida, Texas, and Los Angeles, built around big hands and the banter and battle of wits that accompany the big hands." And then to go along with that, you said, "My content is a lot about delivering value to the consumer. It's not about me, but it is about what is happening and I'm the one who is playing. And I feel like on the internet, a thing that helps out is not focusing on you, but focusing on the viewer experience. No one cares about how I woke up or whatever, but they kind of care about me getting aces, open raising someone, 3-betting, and deciding to slow play because of this and that." So you made it very clear that you're focused on the viewer and not so much on yourself. So going along with that, what is it that makes for good poker content? What do you think the audience wants to see?
I believe everyone that actually reaches success in the poker vlogging industry find their own way of doing things. What I would advise someone who wants to start is to find your way to make the greatest content you can, and it's yours. Like, I model many people. For example, I modeled Wolfgang, I modeled Rampage, I modeled Brad Owen. I did that bringing the content to Brazil, so in my own language, but I found my own way. I think I go more towards improving at poker than... I try entertainment, I do entertainment, but I believe a better word would be infotainment. So it is still entertainment, but over 3 seconds, I explain you something different about poker. I show you a range and say, calm down, this is just a range. This is just your possible hands that you can have. The red is the one you should raise. The green is the one you should call. The blue is the one you should fold. That was literally 5 seconds that I didn't lose the consumer, but I added a little bit more value into the thing. But I try not to make it boring, because still, I believe a big reason why I grew so fast in Brazil is that I don't speak only to the regs. I speak to any person that thinks poker is cool, and I try to add value to that person. That was my way of doing it. Maybe your way is going to be another way. Maybe your way is going to be more funny, like Corey Uring. I think he does a great job. And I met him in person, and he's a great guy as well. He's a very humble and hardworking guy, and he deserves to reach the success he has. And that's one thing. Don't deserve the success you get before only thinking about the success. So work hard, deliver value, make the best content you can, because when you post a video, you're seeing a video from mine. I posted it 7 months ago. This video is still being watched for a long time. There's still a lot of people that will watch this content and will actually subscribe, will actually buy my ebook, will actually buy a course I make in the future. So just do the best you can, and time will be on your favor. Don't rush, don't think you're gonna start tomorrow and in a month you'll get 1,000 subscribers. Hopefully you will, but if you don't, keep doing your part and keep improving. Just like in poker. If you start in poker, do you really think you're gonna be profitable in the first week? Most likely not. But what if you keep improving, keep learning, keep trying to get good information from people you trust? over a long period, you will end up getting profitable because most people in poker, they want to gamble, they want to have fun. And that's fine, they are very welcome. But the reason why few people only make money from this game is because they do what most people don't. They actually study, they actually look at their game in a critical way. I'm always criticizing myself in everything. Not in a bad way, but I'm really looking at it and say, why did I make a mistake here? How can I improve? Not only in poker, but in content as well, in life itself. Like I try not to limit myself or be mediocre over how I want to do with my things because I know that my work is going to keep making noise for a long period of time. Now I'm 29, but one day I'll be 40 and I will still watch the content I made when I was 29. And that content has a great chance that content will still bring me views, will still bring me subscribers, will still bring me customers, will still bring me fans, if I could say like that.
And we've talked about the differences between US audiences and Brazilian audiences and how you've navigated that. Let's go back to when you first came to Chicago for college. What was that cultural transition like going from your hometown in Brazil to all of a sudden you're in a big city in the US?
I am a Brazilian that didn't have access to the culture of the US, so I think differently. Brazilians are very different than US people. And there was some things that I was misjudged or maybe a little prejudice over myself because I sat at the table to do my best and to make the most money I could. That's what I did in poker. And some people, when they lose money to someone, they get angry with that person and they actually try to attack in another way. Maybe say, oh, this poor guy, he's playing 1-2 here, like go study or go whatever. Like many try to put you down, you know? And I think a big thing that I did at that time was just forgetting about that guy. Not fighting, not arguing, but doing my things because I was evolving. And that happened over the first 2 years a lot over making content in English because I go to the competitiveness of poker. Now I'm more polished. Now I really learn how to be very nice and polite to people and gentle and kind and make money over them. And that's not many people have that skill, like, because it's not an easy skill. It's like it's a very like tight space for you to be kind, be gentle, and still extract the maximum you can. Because cash game is a lot about taking the most money you can from your opponent. Like if you have the nuts, what is the goal right now? Take the most money you can. That's poker, you know. But that's the thing. When you try to be very competitive at poker, you will end up making other people frustrated, and those people will usually want to attack you with what they can. They cannot attack you in poker. What would they do? I'm gonna leave it a blank space now because maybe you know what you would do, maybe you know what your friend would do. So it happened a lot in the US because I got here, okay, I played soccer and I studied, but all my free time was poker. So I literally sat in a table with a mirrored glass. Sometimes I bring a book in front of me that I wasn't even reading, and I was playing poker and I was making money. And some people view that as, oh, this guy is good. Other people view that, oh, this guy is look what he's doing. He is playing 1-2 and he thinks he is making money. Go study or whatever. And instead of being mad to that person, I just fuck him, you know. Just keep doing your thing, keep making money from that guy. It was an interesting question from you because it wasn't easy, but I'm really proud of having dealt with it in a wise way. I believe poker is a lot about wisdom because poker is a game of decision making, and decision making has everything to do with wisdom. Okay, you want the technique and you better study, but for you to make a good decision, have a good decision making, sometimes you have to be more patient. Sometimes you have to be more humble. You know, like little things that many people don't value so much and that I teach in my book, actually. I created a book that is The Profitable Poker Player, six Principles for Success in Poker. And one of the principles, in my opinion, is humility. Another is modeling the right people. Another is being anti-fragile, for example. What is anti-fragile? If something bad happens in your life, if you're an anti-fragile person, you're going to get that bad thing and transform into a good thing that makes you better. So, for example, just like the example I said, someone who wants to attack me or humiliate me, instead of responding to that, just use that information. He's just saying that he thinks that you don't have a lot of money, that you're afraid to lose money. So what will you do? If he makes a big bet, he's going to be very tendency to be bluffing because he's trying to put pressure on me. And that's poker. Again, I don't want to explain, oh, I'm this, no. You think I'm this? Okay, I'm going to exploit that. And I'm not going to say nothing. And I'm going to make money over you. And you're going to lose and I'm going to win. And that's fine, Another thing, if you start making content, don't humiliate your haters. Let them be as well. I would say that because it brings a bad energy. In Brazil, for example, I don't have a lot of haters. In US, I actually had. And one thing that I would change is instead of being bothered by them and actually replying, I'm going to reply who deserves my reply. I'm going to give attention to who deserves my attention, that are the supporters, not the haters that I don't know what they are doing there if they don't like it,
Yeah, definitely. And going along with those principles of yours, who are some of the people in poker from Brazil specifically that you look up to? There's a lot of, poker is pretty big in Brazil. There's a lot of big crushers like Yuri, Andre Akari, Bruno Volkmann. Mm-hmm. Who are some of the guys who you looked up to?
Akari was a guy that taught me a lot, really a lot, 13 to 12 years ago.
Oh, really?
A long time ago, yeah. I really admire him, and hopefully one day we're going to be friends. I have a big admiration for Doyle because he was a guy, I believe time is the best filter of all, and the guy literally played poker throughout his whole life, has a lot of admirers, including myself, and I believe time shows who you are, Like I have 3 years of vlog, so I'm just starting. But a guy that has so many years of poker, so many years of experience, and it is still admired, never saw something bad from him or whatever. This shows that he was a great character, and he deserves to be mentioned by me now because he built a legacy. He made a lot of people come into poker and be better poker players and be more polite and be better humans itself by what he made. So you asked who are a guy that I admire a lot. I would say Doyle. Like, I don't limit myself only to Brazil. I love Brazil. I love my country. But if I have to admire someone, I'm not gonna limit to only from Brazil. I'm gonna look to the wider picture. I admire Wolfgang, for example. I really admire what he did. He was the one who made the trend of what I do right now. I would be ungrateful if I didn't mention him here because he really found the right formula. And actually what I do is model his right formula in Portuguese and try to do better. That's one thing I say in my book. Like the modeling skill, which is for me is the most important skill. For example, you're interviewing me. Maybe someday when I want to interview someone, I remember how you did it and I try to model you and try to do even better. I say that in my book, like model, but try to do better. Like there is nothing wrong with you trying to do better. You cannot make it, but don't limit yourself. You understand? Like when you try to do something, try to be the best. Most of the times you won't be the best. But if you try to be the best, most likely you're gonna reach a higher level than what you would reach if you just I'm gonna just do this, but I'll never. No, don't limit yourself, Like if you want to speak a new language, go for it. Speak, Like don't be afraid of speaking wrong and someone judging you. Because the person who is judging you, that's the person who is the mediocre one. You're trying to learn a new language. Like how many languages does this person speaks, So I believe that's kind of how I think.
Is it hard dealing with a U.S. audience? Do you have people like that who, call you an idiot or?
Now it's easy, but yeah, the English audience is more spicy, more critical, more judgmental. Mm-hmm. They are the owners of the truth, but I don't know what they do of their life, and I don't care, honestly. The Brazilian people, I see a lot more love, a lot more admiration than the U.S. people, to be honest. But I believe there is the cultural fit thing. I'm from Brazil. You don't know many people from Brazil that speak fluent English. You don't know many people from Brazil. You don't know how Brazilians think. You don't know what's our culture, So maybe you're just seeing a guy online that you don't care about, giving an opinion that you don't agree, maybe, and you're just trying to give your opinion. So do it, I want the engagement. Just keep coming. but definitely they are more judgmental, more critical, and less supportive. And I can see that in all the vloggers, not only on me. While Brazilians, they actually support a lot. They actually love the content. They actually admire the content. They see me speaking English and they say, wow, I wanna be like that guy. And like, I want you to be better than me. Because again, it's not about me. It's about delivering value. So I just try to do what I think is the most correct way to do and to say and to think. And I'm gonna make mistakes just as I did a lot in English, but that was what I knew at that time, and that was my best. Now my best is better than the past, and in a year from now, my best is gonna be better than right now. And that's how life should work, you know? You shouldn't be limiting yourself. You shouldn't be saying, oh, I'm this and I'm gonna be like this for all my life. You don't have to, you know? You can if you're okay with that, but if you're not, try to be better, you know? Try to do your best, and most likely you're gonna keep improving over time.
It's very clear that you're a super motivated person. Where did you get that from? Have you always been that way? What do you attribute that to?
I believe my biggest privilege was my family, especially my mother. I'm like a man version of my mother, and she was born in the middle of the Amazon, in a city that is really far away, even farther than where I'm from. And she always was trying to be better, and to do better for me and for my brother. So I believe a lot of that comes through her. And I don't know, man, maybe I was bullied when I was 13, 14 years old. And that brought me a competitive drive that it even sometimes was getting a little toxic. Because I wasn't the guy that was bullied and that punched someone or whatever, but I transferred all that frustration into being better than that person. Mm-hmm. Being better, doing better, playing better soccer, playing better ping pong, playing better, whatever I did, better. It got a little toxic. Nowadays, I'm more balanced. I'm friends with those people today. Like, it's okay. But maybe that mixing of things made me get really competitive. I get sick in the field, for example, playing soccer. Like, I don't want to lose. If it's you versus me, I'm gonna probably beat you. If I don't, I'm gonna be very mad with myself. But it happens. I learned how to lose with poker. Poker taught me how to lose. And again, I'm very critical with myself. So if I'm really thinking the wrong way by what happened, I'm gonna try to analyze me and try to change. I don't think I should hate a guy that bullied me when I was 13 and now we're both 29 years old. No, I think he improved. He learned with it too. We're friends, you know. We're okay. Like, this part of my life is over. But you asked me where that competitive drive came from, and I think it had a lot to do with that because it happened when I was really young, you know, like 12, 13. And I put all my effort into soccer. That's why I got good at soccer, maybe. But I don't believe my talent is at soccer. I believe my talent is at analyzing stuff, at making math in my head, at trying to do my best with my competitive drive. So I believe that's where it came from.
That's really great and interesting that you can take a negative experience and maybe even a traumatizing one of being bullied and turn it into a real positive and give yourself this drive, and then also be self-aware enough to say, like, hey, this shouldn't get to a toxic level, like, I shouldn't be overly competitive. But yeah, that's really cool how you could turn a bad experience into something positive.
Thank you. That's anti-fragility. Turn a bad thing into a good thing. Because, like, what is something fragile? Something fragile is something that takes a hit and break. Something anti-fragile is the opposite. And most people would think that the opposite of fragile is getting a hit and keep going. But no, it's actually getting a hit and improving from the hit. So really be thoughtful about how to be someone that the more people attack, the better you get. And in poker, that's really important, like mistakes. If you make a mistake in poker, you better learn from it. Because you already made a mistake, you already got the loss, you already lost money or whatever. But if you actually make that mistake become something that you learn from, you actually won. Because life is long. One mistake that cost me $100, if I learn something from it, I can actually make $3,000 over this $100 mistake, you know? But most people don't even see the mistake they make, or they give excuses to what they did. For example, oh, that was a mistake. That was the right GTO play. Bro, you're playing versus a human being. You're not playing versus a computer. GTO plays versus a computer. So, okay, you better study GTO, but when you play against a guy that is really his tendency is not to bluff, you actually should overfold, you know? If his tendency is to overbluff, you actually should overcall. You shouldn't follow GTO, you know? But that's something that only if you analyze things well, and if you really try to see from a wider picture zone, that you can actually reach that awareness maybe.
Yeah. And so I mentioned when at the start of this that we first met on the WPT Voyage, which was, for those of you that don't know, it was a really fun experience, basically a week-long cruise starting in Miami and going through the Bahamas. And that ended up being a special time for you because you made a deep run in the $5,000 main event there. You actually ended up finishing in 6th place, I think, for $55,000. What was your WPT Voyage experience like?
It was amazing. The whole trip itself is great. If you see the footage, you're gonna understand what I mean. Like, we're in a cruise in the middle of the Bahamas or Cayman Islands or Miami, playing poker in a big event, a very well-made event. Everything there was so beautiful, and I was making content, so it was great already. Plus the fact that I got 55K for 6th place and I recorded everything. So that trip definitely changed my life in some way, because I not only made a lot of money, but I made great content. I met great people like you. I did many interviews. People from US, they didn't know I was starting making content in Portuguese. So many people there, they realized, oh, so he's not gone. He's just making content in Portuguese. So a lot of things happened over the 5 to 6 days in WPT. And so far was the best trip of my life. I learned a lot throughout the whole process. The WPT team that was with me from Brazil, they were great. I made great friends, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I didn't win any money, but I still had such a fantastic time. Definitely one of the cooler things I've gotten to do with this job. Okay, let's go into some more general questions as we're wrapping up here. What's a book that you would recommend to people? I know that you mentioned your own book, but is there any other book that's really inspiring to you?
Yes, Proverbs from the Bible. And I would put as a second one, Outwitting the Devil from Napoleon Hill. Proverbs is because it's the book of wisdom. Like, it's really going to show you how to deal with many stuff from your life. I highly recommend Proverbs. And Outwitting the Devil is actually an interview with the devil. Of course, it was like this because Napoleon Hill didn't interview the devil. But then the devil shows how he controls 99% of the minds of the people. And he talks about drifting, for example, which is not thinking with your own head. He talks about that he controls 99% of people through fear. Fear of poverty, fear of death, fear of criticism, that many people don't make content online because of they want to be perfect. And even they won't reach the being perfect. But even if they get really good, they will get haters. And haters will actually be a good sign for them. Because I only start growing a lot when I got haters. So don't fear the haters. Actually, in a weird way, want the haters. So Proverbs and Outwitting the Devil is going to be a great two books that I'm sure it will change a lot of people's life if they read and actually learn from it and implement in their life.
Yeah, great recommendations. And you and I are both pretty young. We're both 29, but what is a piece of advice that you'd give your younger self?
Go all in and do your best with everything you do, and try to just, again, do your best in what you put your time in, and be very thoughtful about what will you put your time in. Like, don't put your time so much in parties and drugs, and put your time more in something that will evolve you as a human being, because life is long and when you're already okay with money, with everything, then you can put more your time into having fun and to enjoy yourself a little bit more. But again, I'm giving an advice to my younger self. That's what I think I should do. But maybe other person just want to enjoy life, and that's fine. I'm not here to judge your decisions. I'm actually here to support you and try to make you a better person, no matter how you could be a better person.
That's great. All right, and the last question is, what is your favorite life lesson that can be drawn from poker?
Learning how to lose, learning to deal with loss and frustration. Poker gives us a lot of punches in the stomach that you should know how to deal with it, instead of it's a punch in the stomach. It's not exactly a punch in the stomach, but I feel like people will identify.
Yeah.
Many people that get that punch in the stomach, they do a worse decision after that. So they lost, they're losing at 1-3. They go to the 2-5 to maybe recover their loss. Bro, that's so... Stop to think about it. Is that really wise? Like, no, but many people do. And that's why there's so much space to make money in poker. Because I'm going to be in the 2-5 table or the 5-10 table, and if I see someone spewing, I'm going to actually try to make the most money I can on you, because that's my work, my job in that table. And there will be people that are there just to make money over you, so you better be careful, Like, if you lose $1,000, don't try to put $2,000 in the roulette or in the whatever, Try to be wise. That comes Proverbs, that comes outwitting the devil or whatever, like, that would be what I would say.
Yep, that's a great answer. All right, well, it's been great talking to you. I'm glad that we finally got a chance to do this, and hey, good luck the rest of the summer.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here, and thank you, bro.